Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Touched by a Horse. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, with your host today, Jessica Hauschildt. Jessica, hello there.
Hey.
Good to see ya. Good to see ya.
Well,
We are deep into this this podcast as a series, and I'm excited to talk to you today because you have a huge heart for a very specific group of people. I'll let you say what it is. Like, who do you have a heart for? Who are you inspired by?
yeah, so I really have a heart for those without a voice and those maybe that have lost their voice in the world, whether that's human or equine. That's kind of been
Right.
my background. My heart is huge for those who are misunderstood, kind of those misfits, those outlaws, those outliers that don't fit in the proverbial box that society would like us to beautifully fit into.
Yeah. How did you why do you have a heart for them? Why are you connected to that in any way?
Yeah, so my background on the horse side of things, it's always been those kind of misfit horses with behavioral issues that have found their way to me. So that's kind of where this has started for me through my own set of circumstances and getting caught in the court system. I quickly realized I had little to no voice. Very much felt like I had been buried alive, kicking and screaming, and nobody could hear me.
Because of what? What was it that had you feel that way?
So I finally bolted out of a 17-year marriage to a very covert narcissistic person. And the subsequent divorce that followed was hellish, to say the least.
Yeah, I would imagine. If you felt buried alive in the process of being married, then getting out would be what you would really have to claw your way out of that. I would imagine.
Yeah, kicking and screaming.
Yeah, right. So I think there's a lot of people in the world who feel misunderstood, not heard, not seen. Maybe they identify as misfits. I feel like I've identified as a misfit I've never fit in any one place. You know, I got good at floating to different groups or blending in. That was my survival mechanism, but I definitely didn't feel like I fit in. Where do you feel like, maybe it was for you or what you see with other people, where do they get stuck?
Yeah, so for everyone that's different, right? Like that feeling of being trapped or stuck or boxed in looks a little different for every single one of us. What I know is in my particular circumstances, I was sure that I had picked my poison and that's just the way things were going to be. It felt pretty bleak, to say the least. And I do think we get caught in that space. We get so caught in our own stuff that we have a really hard time seeing outside of that, and seeing the possibilities that may lay outside of that. And so in supporting people, you know, in getting unstuck to help themselves get untethered and kind of break away from that, whatever that is boxing them in, that's I think that's a huge, big deal.
What were some of the things that you feel like kept you or keeps others tethered? Like, why do we stay in it?
Yeah, so I know in my particular circumstances, it was a lot of threats,
Sure.
and manipulations, and a lot of years of just really being beat down, and not being able to see how I could possibly support myself and my kids, or there's that in domestic violence type situations, you know, people always say, well, why can't you just get out? Just leave. Right. It's not that easy. And a lot of times there is that greater fear that if I leave, I may die. So I think sometimes we look at, is it worth the risk? Do the risks of untethering ourselves and kind of breaking free, is the risk, does that outweigh the discomfort that we're in our current situation?
Yeah, right. So what have you seen? I mean, and you know, you're on the other side of this now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen other people get to the other side of that. Like, Like, is there life on the other side of this huge risk? Like I think that's the question everybody would ask if they feel like they are stuck in the place they're stuck in.
Yeah. So I think that you don't know till you throw yourself off the proverbial cliff, right? That was kind of where I was at. And so there's hope that that positive change, that shift that we're looking for is indeed positive and what we're needing. I think it's that space in between. I think that's what keeps us stuck, that fear of the unknown, the fear of, there's a lot of growth in that valley between making that leap and getting to the other side. But I think what we also don't recognize is a lot of times how being stuck is affecting us physically, mentally, emotionally. I know I sure laugh a lot more. I smile. I'm definitely, as I'm healing, I'm beginning to thrive. But I don't know that we see that when we're kind of stuck in that cage.
I think there is this runs the risk of sounding insensitive. I just think that but I think it's a survival mechanism where we don't get honest about the situation, whatever the situation is, whether it's abuse or it's something interpersonal with myself. We're not honest about the situation. And so what we do is we stay and it's hard to calculate the cost. Absolutely. Like you're trying to weigh the cost of leaving versus staying. And if we're not honest about it, it's really hard to get a clear cost of.
Absolutely. And we're comfortable in our pain a lot of times, right? The familiar, no matter how uncomfortable it is comfortable because we know it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So what is life like on the other side? I mean, you said you smile more. Yeah.
So I've had people that I knew for a lot of years, and then I kind of disappeared while I was going through that trial, who didn't even recognize me because the load that I had been bearing, lifted so greatly.
Wow.
I am, pursuing my coaching business, doing this with you. There's a book that is beginning to come into the works and the forefront. I'm just doing a lot of the things that I've forgotten how much I loved doing, and able to thrive in the world instead of merely kind of breathing and surviving.
It's like, as you describe it, it's like you get a whole new life. Like you get a whole new, it's a reinvention almost. I would imagine coming out of something like that, it's now like, okay, I get a blank slate. What am I going to create this time?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think sometimes we forget how to dream. We forget to even consider, what it is we want, those things in life that, maybe we had huge dreams when we were younger and the world kind of beats some of that out of us. So just being able to dream again and think about what is it that, you want in life. So for sure, that one decision completely changed the trajectory of my life.
How did you, I'm curious, on a personal level, I'm curious because I'm in the space of trying to figure out what are some of the things I want? It's an interesting question. You think it's so obvious, but what do I want? I'm like, I don't, where did you look for answers to that?
Yeah. So one of the first ongoing homework assignments that we're given in the TBOP program is to write your vision. I couldn't. It was like, what are you talking about? I just want to be able to put my pants on every day and walk outside and get through the day kind of a thing. And so it was an exercise that really stretched me, and helped kind of start working that muscle. The idea is that you go big. You don't go home, you go big. Think so far outside of the box that you sweat a little bit. And that was what really started to shift that for me when I considered, okay, what do I want? And I think some of that's also just getting out there and doing things that either you once loved to do and you quit doing them for whatever reason, or you think, oh, I haven't done that before. I think I might try it.
Yeah. Is it a lot of just kind of, like you said, trying stuff, or is it trying to go back into memories as a kid to figure out what things were exciting for you then? Or
Yeah, I think it's all of it, right? Like, it's being aware enough to stop for a minute when you go, oh, I really loved that. Just making a note to yourself, like, oh, that was fun. I never even thought I'd like that. Or,
yeah,
wow, I forgot how much, I missed the beach. Like, I went and visited my baby brother, and I forgot how much I missed the beach and the ocean.
yeah.
Just making a note to myself, like, I need to be able to, at some point, even if it's just once a year, do that.
Yeah, I love that. I really hear the awareness of that. Like, if you're not, you could go to the beach and hang out there, and if you're not aware of like, oh, this feeling I'm having right now is like, I like this feeling. This is a good feeling. And then you're like, oh, this is a clue. This is a clue. Like, I could do more of this in life. And then you could just totally be on autopilot and not notice that.
Yes. Yeah. So it's an awareness, right? It's one of the awesome things that some of these misfit horses have taught me, is that I've got to be 100% in the present moment. If I'm not, my butt's in the dirt.
Yeah.
And I'm walking home, kind of a thing. So it's definitely a muscle that needs exercised. We're really good at checking off our grocery list in our head and not really being in the here and now.
Right.
But once you start to exercise that muscle, it gets stronger and stronger.
Do you feel like, I mean, when you're in survival mode, I would imagine it's hard to get to that place. It can be for me when things are really heavy. It's hard to think about what I enjoy, but it's not to say I couldn't get to those places and be like, oh, that was really fun. And I think if you could start to see little things that gave you hope, you'd be like, oh, I want more of this in my life and less of like all of this stuff in my life.
Yeah. Agreed.
How do people start to take action on this? Like, you've given so many good, like, different ways to think or paradigm shifts here. How do you start to move out into the world to reinvent yourself?
Yeah. So a lot of times that starts with taking some inventory. What is it in your life that isn't working? Is it, is it a relationship? Is it a job situation? Is it, a messy house? Whatever that is, what are those things that you look around and say, this is so not working? And you just start to kind of take inventory of that. And then it's just taking it a piece at a time, right? Baby steps lead to massive shifts and changes in our lives. It's not trying to eat the elephant all at once. It's, approaching it one bite at a time. What are those things?
Yeah, it's really good. When people come to work with you, how do you move them from where they are to what's possible for them?
Yeah, so it depends on the individual, right? Some of us are more shut down, locked up than others. So it's definitely feeling your way through that. And then it could be tools, different specific tools and putting stuff on paper. It can be, out in the round pen with the horses and figuring out, whatever it is you think you want, is that truly authentic and really what you're wanting, or is it, it sounds good, but maybe it's not yours to own?
I do like that about the Gestalt process, where and the somatics of being able to get back to your body, get back to your core, and really start to listen inside rather than looking outside for what you want. Yeah, so good. I love it. Well, if you had some advice, some wisdom, having lived the life that you live where you are now, what would you say to people who are where you used to be, or who feel stuck, misunderstood, or not seen?
Yeah. So what would I tell them? I think I would say that we're never as stuck as we perceive ourselves to be. Anything truly is possible if we just take the action it is to begin to put plans into place to shift things. And I would encourage people, if you're feeling overwhelmed by your stuckness, so to speak, that you reach out to somebody who's able to see they come in outside of your situation with fresh eyes, that can kind of help support you and encourage you as you begin to look outside your situation.
Yeah. If people were interested in doing this kind of work with you, since, I mean, you do this kind of coaching for people, right? You can help them through this process. How do people reach out to you and connect with you for the kind of work that you do?
So my website, untetheredhearts.com, has different links. One that'll send you to my blog, one that sends you to my Facebook page, one that'll allow you to contact me via phone, email, any of that.
Got it. Untetheredhearts.com. What a cool website name. Love that. Good stuff. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for sharing so transparently your journey and what's possible for people if they're in a similar spot. I wish you all the best, and until next time, take care.
Thank you so much.